Q2 and the median is interchangeable, meaning you can say median or Q2 is the same, because median is the middle position, which is include whatever that position is. You have 50% below and 50% above. Okay, so Q2 is your median, which is, again, Q2 will have that, and Q3 is the last quartile, which is includes 75% below and 25% above. Okay, so basically this is what we have is the quartile is basically tell you that your data, whatever your data is, we split into 4 different regions, and to split in 4 different regions, we only need to cut 3 times. The next thing we have is the percentile. The percentile is, instead of cut just 3 cut, we have to cut 99 cut, because again, percentile is basically tell you that instead of cut into 25, 25, 25, I want to cut to each individual percent, 1%, 2%, 3%. I want to cut all the way to 100%. And if I want to have to 100%, I only need to cut 99 slice, because the last slice is the leftover, right? So basically this is what we have is a percentile is basically tell you at what position you at, or in other words, whatever position you have, there will be one less position less than you. For instance, if you take the ACT, and your ACT score come back, your ACT score come back and it say you are at a 90 percentile. What does that mean? You are at 90 percentile. Well, if you are 90 percentile, meaning there are 89% of the people who took that test on that day are less than you, right? And they are, again, 10% above you, right? So again, 90 percentile meaning, again, you are at the 90th position, meaning there are 80, for instance, if that day 100 people took the test. If 100 people take a test, if you are 90 percentile, meaning 89 of them are below you, you are at the 90th position, right? So again, that's what we have in terms of percentile, which is, again, a little bit different between a percentile and quartile. Is quartile, we only divide into 4 slots. Percentile, we divide into 100 slot. And again, whatever the percentile is, that's your position. There will be some number below you, and there will be some number above you in terms of that. Okay. So again, it's just for information. I don't think Connect might ask you, but if they do, it's very easy to find. The next thing we have, or this is the last thing we have, is the box plot. The box plot, which is, again, for this author, he used a modified box plot. And the only thing different between a modified box plot and the regular box plot is modified box plot, we have a outlier. And the definition for outlier, or basically the outlier, is the extreme value beyond your boundary. Okay, so for instance, assuming a lot of data is close to the mean, all cluttered together, and all of a sudden you have one extreme number so high that out of nowhere influence your data, right? So if you have that, then that's when you have the outlier. Okay, so let's take a look at the steps to find the box plot. And one thing I want to point out is right now when you look at this step, it's look a little bit confusing. But when you do your homework, you will see that this problem on your homework is very easy. They make it very user-friendly. Like 2 years ago, it's like very frustrating to do this box plot on your Connect map. But they advanced, they changed it, and now it's very easy to do it. But again, let's take a look at the step. The first thing you need to do is you need to find the Q1, Q2, which is your median, and Q3, which is your third quartile, right? And again, we have an easy way to do that, which is we can use our calculator. If somebody already figured out, that is your 1 for step, okay? The next thing we need to do is we need to find the interquartile range, the IQR. So the IQR, very easy. Interquartile range is basically you take Q3 minus Q1. We want to see what is the range from the smallest Q1 to the Q3. Okay, so the Interquartile is basically take Q3 minus Q1. Basically, that's your range, right? Highest number minus lowest number. And now the next thing we need to do is we need to know what is my limit, what is my cutoff, what is my boundary. And to find the lower boundary, you need to take Q1 minus 1.5. This is the fixed number. It's just a number that they come up with. The limit of the item, which is 1.5, times the IQR, which is the IQR is this item up here. And the upper limit or the upper outlier boundary is Q3 plus 1.5 times the IQR. Okay, so again, this is what we have is we need to know my boundary. We need to know my limitation. If it's beyond this limitation, we say that it's an outlier. If it's within, then there's no number outside of the boundary, then we say there's no outlier. Okay. Now the next thing we have is again this is what we have is back then they have this Box-and-Whisker. Box-and-Whisker, which is the box is the Q1, Q2, Q3, and the whisker is your maximum value and your minimum value. So this is basically tell you we need to find the maximum value and the minimum value based on your data, not on the boundary, based on your data. So again, to find the upper line, to find the upper item, basically you look at the highest data that you have that is not exceeds your upper outlier. And to find the smallest value is basically you take the smallest value of your data that is not exceed the lower boundary. Okay. And again, as you will see, if you read this thing here, it's a little bit confusing. Find the largest data value that less than the upper boundary and find the smallest value that is greater than the lower boundary. It's basically find the maximum value that is within your boundary. Okay. And again, the other one is replace the X for any outlier that is not inside my limitation. Okay. So let's take a look at this thing here, which is, let's take a look at this item is, let's say if on your homework, you have this problem. And again, on your homework, this problem, they will ask you to find, find the Q1, Q2, Q3, find the IQR, find the outlier, and do all those stuff. I just go straight and ask you construct the box plot. And to construct the box plot, that's what you need is you need the Q1, Q2, which is the median Q3. And then you need the IQR, and then you need the boundary. So instead of asking you to do it, I just basically go straight and construct this box plot, right? So how do we construct this box plot? Well, your handy dandy calculator can help you out, right? So we will use the calculator to find Q1, the median, which is Q2, and the Q3. And to do that, which is again, we need to use the stat option, the feature stat, edit and type your data in L1. And then after you type your data in L1, you will use the one for stat, which is mostly your test one is this item here, which is the stat and the one for stat. There's no other thing except the z-score, which is just the multiplication, addition, and subtraction, right? So looking at this thing here, let me share you guys. Do you guys see the calculator that I'm sharing or no? Probably not.
No, I don't see it.
Yeah, let me do it this way. So now you guys see my screen and my calculator?
Yes.
So same thing go again. I using this TI-83 calculator. Let me move this side so I can see the data. And again, if you have an 84, is a little bit more advanced than the 83. But again, so again, to do this thing here, just the same as before, we click on stat and we choose the edit. And good thing for me, I used it before, so I enter in my data already. My data is 14, 34, 38, 44. So I enter all my data in already. And as you can see, we have 22 data, right? 11 on top and 11 on bottom. We have 22 data, which is everybody see that my L1 open parenthesis 22 close parenthesis, which is again I enter 22 data, right? So again, basically you type in your data in L1 like before. Now the only the other thing is we go to calculate and we choose the 1/4 that. If you have the 83, you have to press enter. If you have an 84, make sure that your frequency list is blank. You only have L1 in your list, and your frequency list is blank because you don't have L2. Okay, so once you have this thing here, if you press enter, this is the output you have earlier, right? You have 22 data and so on and so forth, your standard deviation and your mean. If you scroll down, everybody see this item here, the min X, which is the minimum value we have is 9. They tell you the smallest data on your data is 9. The maximum data that you have is 59. So again, the min and the max, that's your highest value and your lowest value of your data. And now everybody see your Q1. Your Q1 is 14, your median is 27, and your Q3 is 41. So everybody see that again, your calculator can find your Q1, your Q2, and Q3 for you, which is we're using the same item that we have for before, right? So looking at this thing here, which is again, looking at this thing here, like I mentioned, from your calculator, you should have Q1 14, median 27, Q3 41. Okay. So again, we did that. I show you that your calculator have those 3. So now the second step from our 5-step, the second step is we need to find the IQR, which is reminder IQR is basically take Q3 minus Q1, which is again, one thing is just a coincidence that your IQR is 27 is the same as your median. No, it's just coincidence. It's not always the same as the median. So don't have that thought, okay? So again, the IQR, the interquartile range is basically 40, the Q3 minus Q1 to give you 21. Now the step 3, which is the most important step, is now we need to find our limit. We need to find our boundary. To find a lower boundary, we need to take Q1, which is Q1 in this case is 14, minus 1.5 is a fixed number. It's always 1.5, ladies and gentlemen, 1.5 times the IQR, which is 27. So if you do that, which is 14 my Q1, 1.5 times 27, and you can see that we have 14 minus 40.5, which is 14 minus 40.5 will give me negative 26.5, which is everybody see that the lower limit, if you have some data that is smaller than negative 26.5, that will be outlier. But in this case, we don't have any data. We don't have the amount of carbohydrate that is in a negative unit, right? You cannot have a negative unit of something in this item, okay? So again, the upper limit, the upper boundary is the same as before. It's just Q3 instead of Q1 is Q3 added to 1.5 times IQR. And again, if you do that, which is 1.5 times IQR is 40.5, which is 41 plus 40.5 will give me 81.5. So everybody see that my upper boundary is 81.5, which is, if you look at this thing here, we don't have any outlier because the maximum data we have is 59. Everybody see that? So again, looking at this thing here, glance through this, we know that the maximum value is 59, so we don't have any outlier. We don't have any item to place at the outlier. So looking at this thing here, to construct this by yourself, to construct this by yourself, this is what we need, is we need to put our range of our data. My range of data is, again, I go by 10 to make it easy. The highest data I have is 59, so again, I stop at 60. So this is what we need to do, is we need to put in the minimum value, and my minimum value is 9, so 9 is somewhere close to here. And I need to put my maximum value that is not exceeds the upper boundary, which is in this case, my maximum value is 59, right? The smallest data that is not exceeds the limit, which is, this is the 2 limit. And then again, after you put in your minimum, your maximum, you need to put in your Q1, which is your Q1 is 14, is somewhere here. Your Q2 is 27, somewhere here. Your Q3 is 41, which is somewhere here, probably a little bit closer. And again, this is all we're doing is this is all we're doing is your Q1, Q2, and Q3, we put in a box. And that's what they call a box plot. Because Q1, median, or Q2, and Q3, we put in a box. And again, all you do is you draw a whisker, which is, again, this is box plot, which is, again, or sometimes you will hear say Box-and-Whisker, which is, again, the whisker is basically from Q1 to the minimum value and Q3 to the minimum or the maximum value. So one thing is, ladies and gentlemen, this is if you were to do it by hand, on your homework, life is very easy for you guys. On the homework is basically all you do is you just click and drag, click and drag. They have all this line for you. They have the minimum, the Q1, Q2, Q3, and the maximum line. All you do is you click that line and drag to the exact point. They will tell you which point, which level they have right here. As you can see, I kind of estimate. I don't have the precise number, but on your homework, they have a precise number. You just click and drag, click and drag. Very, very easy to create this box plot on your Connect map. Okay, but question here. The other thing that I want to point out that if you were to have, for instance, let's say that this data, everybody say that this data is, let's say that this data instead of 9, let's say my data is 90. If my data is 90, everybody remember or everybody agree that we have in term of let me put in X. So looking at this thing here, if you were to do your homework and if your data have a 90, you have to place an X outside, or you have to place an X in terms of, let's say that this is 60, this is 70, this is 80, 90 is somewhere along this side. So again, 90, because my boundary is only 81, my maximum number that I can contain is 81.5, but I have the data of 90, which is 90 is your outlier. And in this modified box plot, if you have an outlier, you have to put an X and you have to place an X there. If you have multiple outlier, you place multiple X. Okay, so again, that's what you have in your homework is you have to place your X and as an outlier, and only if they all exceed your boundary. Meaning the most important step that you need to do, which is on your homework, they will ask you to find the IQ all by yourself. And they will ask you to find a lower boundary and upper boundary by itself. So again, you have those items. And again, only if it's an outlier, if your number exceeds the boundary. If it does not exceed the boundary, then it's not an outlier. Okay. Question with this thing here. Question with the IQR. Question with the lower boundary and the upper boundary, or the Q1, Q2, Q3, how to find it. Any question with the Z-score, quartile, or percentile? And again, quartile and percentile is just basically informative item. I don't think Connect Math asks you on it. But question here, question with the this item, or any question in general. Well, if you don't have question, that is the end of today's material, ladies and gentlemen, and this is the end of chapter 3. There's no other section in chapter 3. And again, like I mentioned, we will still continue, which is tomorrow. I will take whatever question, like today, whatever question you might have, I will take it. And then we will continue to chapter 4. And we will continue on the material. I just push back the day so that you guys have more time to kind of soak in the information, so you don't have to rush, right? If the test tomorrow, you guys have to rush. But please pace yourself. Don't just wait until the last minute and rush. The reason why I push it back so that you don't rush it through. Don't wait until the last minute and that's defeat the purpose of me push it back the test. Okay. Any particular question here in anything?
No.
Next. Yes. No. Well, if you